For this episode of Books, Kids, and Creations, I went to Allwood Park in Dayton, Ohio, and met artist Thomas Dambo to discuss his latest creation. Thomas makes trolls out of recycled goods and has them all over the world, and I had the honor of meeting him and seeing his latest piece. Yep, that's it. Welcome to an outdoor edition of Books, Kids, and Creations with Tracy Blom, and I am here in the forest with Thomas
Dambo.
There we are. And you are originally from, is it Copenhagen?
I'm from Odense, which is a smaller city around 2 hours from Copenhagen, but now the last 15 years I've been living in Copenhagen.
Okay, wonderful. And so how long have you been over here in the United States working on some of these fantastic projects?
I've been working here for around 7 months total, accumulated in all the projects I've done in the United States, but for this project I've been here now for 4.5 weeks.
Okay. So what we're doing out here in the forest is kind of finding some of these really cool pieces that you've made, and a lot of them are made out of, or all of them are made out of recycled materials or trash.
Yeah.
Right? And so they're not just everyday pieces, there are trolls, and they're these fantastic things where if you were just out for a walk and you saw one of these giant trolls in the forest, you'd be like, holy crap, that's awesome.
Yeah.
So how did you come into this, making these things, and how did you get your inspiration for these?
It's like now, I built 86, or we're working on number 86 right now here in Dayton, and I've been making this type of sculptures, the troll sculptures. I've been making them for the last 7-8 years. But I've lived a life with many different. I've been pretty much only been an artist. So I've been first for 2 years I was a professional human beatboxer. For
awesome.
8 years I was a rapper.
Really?
I made all the scenography, all the music videos, all the merchandise, all the T-shirts, all the posters, the CD covers, and all that. I was a graffiti painter. I was a graphic designer, and then I was a consultant for social media in Denmark. And then I've always loved to hike and build, and I've always been scavenging things in dumpsters and dump diving food and doing this. And I was raised by two nice hippie parents I'm 42 now, so in my teenage years it was the hippie days in Denmark. So I think all of these things together have kind of like put me on this path of recycling, telling stories about sustainability, building things and being out in nature, and exploring and making treasure hunts for other people to go and see the possibilities in our trash, because I think trash is a really big threat to our existence, but it can also solve a lot of our problems. So it's a matter of how you view it. And I think like big sculptures, they can help alter that perspective.
Right. And so what are most of your sculptures made of primarily?
So my troll sculptures are made of wood. Yeah, so a lot of pallets and a lot of sticks that we find around in the forest that we use for hair or stuff like that. And then my faces are often made of plywood, like some type of freight boxes or like shelves or furniture or something like that. I have a big studio. I have 15 people working with me in my studio in Copenhagen, and so we organize all the wood. And then, but of course we don't bring that wood over here. But like for projects like whether we can drive around in Europe, then we'll use that wood. Or if we build sculptures in modules that we ship, then we'll use that wood. But here we source it locally.
Very cool.
Yeah.
And so when did you build your first troll, and how did the idea for the troll come to you?
So there's like two explanations to the troll. The one is that we have trolls in our stories in Denmark, because we have the Danish folklore, which have a lot of stories about trolls. So it can be like stories about that a troll is living under your staircase, and if you don't behave good, then it's gonna come and steal your pacifier in the middle of the night, or you're biking up this steep hill and it's only steep if you were misbehaving to the trolls, because then the invisible troll will pull your back of your shirt while you're biking up the hill. And or we have stories about that that those ponds that lays over those fields, they were created when a big troll were walking there, and then those ponds filled with water, and that's the footsteps. And it's kind of normal in folklore stories around the world that some of the things that earlier civilizations were maybe not able to provide an explanation for,
Right.
you would explain that with some type of folklore, magic and dragons and
Giants.
and invisible things, and the mountain is actually a sleeping giant, or all these types of things. So some of the children's books that I grew up with, or like the audiobooks, I was not a big reader, I still am not, but like I like to listen to audiobooks, and one of them was called Lillepuss, and was about a little naughty troll girl living in the forest in Denmark. And then I've just enjoyed all the same type of fairy tale things, Dungeons and Dragons games,
Right.
and yeah, all the big different types of fairy tale movies, and yeah, and I've always liked also world building, so to create my own worlds. So that's what I did when I was a rapper. Like I created this whole fictive world that this whole rap universe was living inside, with its own lingo and its own clothes and its own everything was in that style kind of.
Yeah. Well, it's all art, you know. It's just a different way of portraying it. So whether it's physically there in front of you as a giant sculpture, or it's something that you take from an idea and you turn it into music, it's all, you know, just different ways of sharing your artwork and who you are. So.
Yeah, it's but so that's where the trolls they come from the inspiration around me like that, and then I just like to be in nature and like to tell stories.
Yeah. And so once you have an idea for one of these, do you sketch it out? What's your creative process like?
So for example, when I came here, I knew that this is a bird sanctuary we're in, and there's an airplane just on the other side of the highway here. We'll probably hear an airplane flying above us like at some point. And then also Dayton has a history of aviation. So I figured that it seems like this should be something with flying in some way. So me and my wife was walking around here, and I had her take photos of me trying to pretend I was a troll, trying to pretend it was a bird. So that's kind of like how the creative process started, you know. And then then at some point I realized that a troll that looked at an airplane would think that the airplane was some type of mythical bird.
Right.
Because in my stories, my trolls, they represent and are the voice of the plants and the animals. So they, and then the bad guys in my stories are the humans. So that's how my stories are set up. But the trolls, they don't have the technology, and they're not as advanced as the human race are. So because of this, like, I'm trying to put myself in the shoes or in the feet of being a troll, and then see what an airplane is. And then, so in the story that I've written, there is 3 trolls that lives in the forest, and it's 2 parents and a daughter. And then the daughter, she's really curious in what is around the forest, but because she's not allowed to leave the forest. But she has befriended a red cardinal, and that always flies out to the great outside and comes back and tells her what it sees in the great outside. But then one day the little troll, it sees a big white metal bird flying in a straight line above the forest. And then she gets super intrigued, because a bird that big must have so many interesting stories to tell. Yeah, of course. So this is like how the story sets off. Then the troll finds a big metal egg, and then they try to build a bird nest to hatch it. They try to learn how to fly, and so the 4 different sculptures that I'm building here is all kind of like a snapshot of that story. Yeah.
I love it. Thomas then drove us around the park and showed us the sculptures that he's created for this exhibit, and gave us a little bit of a history lesson on the park itself.
It was like some lady called like something Marie All, I think it was called. So she had inherited a lot of money 100 years ago or something, and then she made like this bird Autobahn farm.
So pretty.
Yeah, it's really nice. Yeah, it's a nice place to get to work. I love it here. 4x4 feet plastic containers that you use to have anything from kerosene to ketchup inside, and then we just went on Facebook Marketplace, and then I got a lot of those ones, and then we cut them up into these little bit more organic shapes, so we don't have any squares or nothing on them. Material is something that a creature with the technology of a troll would have built if it would try and build wings for itself.
So this will stay in this park for...
My guess it's somewhere between 5 and 15 years. Yeah.
And that's sustainability.
Now, I think that's, well, as I see it, it's because many people are like, why don't you make them so they can last forever? And as I see it, that is the problem. It is that we create things to last forever, and then the fashion changes, or the art changes, or the taste of our food or our cutlery or whatever it is, it changes, and then we want something new. So when my art is about sustainability, I think I would not be a really good steward of that if I didn't scatter the earth with big sculptures that would last forever, and then when I'm gone, then everybody else has to deal with that crazy guy back in 2000 and somewhat that just scattered the earth with all these sculptures, you know. So maybe it's okay that they disappear again, like.
Well, it's kind of like they can just return to nature as they were. You know, it's not like you create some kind of pollution or problem with trash or anything like that. You're actually improving the state of the planet with your work.
I don't think that they will just let him compost or degrade right there. I think that they will probably take them away, but they can at least come back to the container where they came from.
Right.
And in that way, they haven't created much more of a mess than what they were when they were found as pieces in a dump.
So then when you start constructing these, you have to do them on site. It's not like you can make them elsewhere and then bring them here. You make every single one on site.
Yeah. That's kind of like how we do it. Because they're so site specific, like this one here sitting on a hill with the lake over a creek, and so it would be a lot of work to survey the whole ground and make such a specific drawing, and that's not fun to build like that, or at least it's not fun for me. I like to just get my hands dirty and start building it and just doing it on site. It makes it much more enjoyable for me. And that's how I built my fortress as a kid, and that's how I built my sculptures as a big kid.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And then when you think about, you know, your legacy and what you represent as a person and as an artist and what you want to pass on to kids for future generations, what are some of those ideas and thoughts?
That, like, I think, like my main message is that you can save the world with the same material that's suffocating the world. So that same material that's killing the world, if you look at that in another way and try and change the way that you use it, then that same material can change the world.
Right.
And I think, and that's why I want to do many sculptures and I want to do big sculptures, because that shows the magnitude of the problem and the solution.
Right.
So that's the number one thing. And then some of my sub-messages is like, don't be so afraid of doing things. Like, you can build something so big and so powerful as my sculptures, and we just show up and we build it, you know. And I've had thousands of people helping me build some of these different projects, so I hope some of them will learn how to recycle and learn that it might look really intimidating to build something as big as a sculpture as big as a house or something, but if you just take small bites, and then eventually you'll get there. And then I hope that my art in nature will help reconnect some of the younger generation that is so disconnected from nature because they live inside a city and inside a computer inside that city, so they're so far away from nature. And I think that will probably be the next really big problem that we will be facing. It is, why, Mom, why should I care about nature? I haven't even been there.
Right.
What is it?
Right. When I was a kid, if you wanted to find me, you'd just look in the woods, like I'd be up in a tree or I'd be in the creek, or, I mean, I was outside all day, every day. and my parents used to have to go look for me and be like, okay, come in for dinner, please. And then, I mean, but I was always in the forest. And I think, I don't know if that was how it was for you growing up, you know, just being in nature a lot, but I didn't have a cell phone growing up. I didn't have a pager. I didn't have all these things that kids just have at such a young age. Not pagers now, but you know what I mean? Like they have iPads at young ages, and I just never had that.
Yeah.
So I was like, oh, forest, oh, trees, oh, creek, oh, let's get clay, you know. And
but like coming from Denmark, we don't have nature in the same way that you have it in US, because like our country has been farmed by people with metal tools and stuff like that for so long. So like everything is agriculture in Denmark, or have been it at some point. But here there's a lot of the land that haven't been like farmed on that big scale level for a long time. So for me, I love to come to the US because you can go and hike the mountains and like and get lost in the forest and like that. But I was definitely playing in the type of nature that we do have in Denmark as a kid. And got all the freedom and all the tools to do so. We built our own little, in our backyard, like we built the craziest fortress for like over 6 years, like with me and two of my friends, and had 2 treetop houses connected with a zip line and a trench around, and like 2 different underground houses connected with a tunnel, and like it was really crazy. But we kept working on it until we got like until we drank our first beer down there when we were 17 or something, like, you know. So it was like, that was like the first world I was building, and the first time I learned that you could build really, really crazy things. So that was kind of like my experience in nature over many years. Yeah, and I think your work also encourages kids to try building things too, and try building things by hand, and use their creativity and not be scared to try to create, you know, things that are big scale or even little. You know? Like we do many workshops where children come and build smaller parts of bigger installations. Like, for example, here we've had volunteers. We haven't had children here, but the volunteers here have, for example, been helping making pearls for a necklace for a troll. Oh, cool. And I've done some workshops where we have like maybe 100 children come in, and then each children are then told, find a stick in the forest and then whittle a troll pearl. And then I explain like what is a troll pearl, and then I explain like trolls, they don't know the alphabet, they don't know the numbers, they don't know emojis, because they don't know humans. Right. So you cannot do anything a human would draw or whittle, but everything else you can do. And they're like, how do you do that? And then everybody whittles a pearl and puts a hole in the pearl, and that's like a big stick of some kind, and then that becomes the huge necklace of the troll. Cool. So in this way I can like break the big project into like smaller pieces, and then still have all the children make like a really important piece of the big necklace for the troll in the end. Yeah. So that's how I try to encourage or bring a lot of people with that not as high skill level of working with wood in on the projects. Yeah, every piece matters. Yeah. Every little piece. That's so neat. Mm-hmm. And then with your book, I'm very excited about your book. So, age range? It's we've tried to make it in a way so it's both for children and for adults at the same time, because it has like different levels to it. In the story, the trolls, they're like caught in this issue with something is happening in the world. They don't understand what's happening. Then they have to go out and figure out what it is that's happening. So that like on some level it's like the climate thing that's happening, but then in the story it's just some bad guy who wants to take down the forest. And then there's like a lot of levels to it, and then the book is called the Journey to the Giant Trolley Fest, which means that's what it means. But but in the story it's the trolls, the human girl that's a part of the story, she thinks that she's on the journey to the big Trolley Fest with her troll companion, because they figured out that there is this troll meeting every 211th year. That's a magical number that occurs in a sculpture where there's 211 big boulders laying in a circle that one of the trolls has put. So then the human girl, she thinks that this Trolley Fest is like a meeting where the trolls and the humans, they meet up, and and talk together. But the trolls, but this is in fact a meeting that the trolls, they have every 211th year to kind of like have a meeting about how the humans are behaving. Because the trolls, they live for such a long time, so they know that the humans, they every once in a while, then they come out of place, and then they kind of like mess everything up, and then that human civilization gets extinct, which has happened multiple times throughout history, that there's been a big rise of the civilization, and then those humans have for some reason been extinct. And the trolls, they know this is because the humans have misbehaved. And obviously now we are on the 211th year, and obviously the trolls, they then need to step in again, because now the human race is out of line again, and they need to be helped or put in their place. So yeah, so that's like the setup of the whole thing.
And then if people want to buy your book,
and if people want to buy it, it's they can buy it on my website,
I will
which
be
is thomasdambo.com. And then, thank you so much. And then, but right now it's just in Danish, but we are translating it to English right now, so I think it will come in like in January or something like that.
Okay.
Yeah.
I hope you've enjoyed this episode of Books, Kids, and Creations. I know that I did, and this was definitely one of my favorite interviews. I love getting out into the woods, and I love seeing people who are creating wonderful things to make the world a better place. So to learn more about Thomas Dambo, go to his website, www.thomasdambo.com. Check out his book. Right now, I know that it's only in Danish, but he's having it translated into English. This book looks phenomenal. It's on his website, thomasdambo.com. You can also check out all of his sculptures and his work on his Instagram page, Thomas Dambo. Thank you.